Good evening. My name is Louise Berger. I am the math director as well as the computer science director for Connecticut Central School District. I welcome you all to our Computer Science Information Technology College and Career Exploration Night, brought to you by Connecticut's Math and Computer Science departments and Work Experience Coordinator, Michelle Rapone. We have here with us tonight two students from Connecticut High School to help moderate the panel. Join me in welcoming Zachary and Yultik. It is our hope that you leave tonight with a better understanding of the computer science and information technology fields, as well as a look at the current job market, opportunities that exist in both fields, and post-secondary education opportunities available. In just a few minutes, you will hear from our live panel of industry experts on topics that are of interest to anyone considering a career in the field of computer science or information technology. Please welcome our panel. Doug Vath is a representative from Cadoyo, an educational platform which brings hands-on computer science instruction to students of all ages. Connecticut Central School District uses Cadoyo as a platform for CS instruction for elementary through high school. Christopher Coluccio, CEO of TechWorks, a homegrown company offering exceptional IT services to small and large local and international businesses. Joseph Horowitz from Stetson Cyber Group is the Director of Audit for the group with 20 plus years of experience in the field. Christopher White from Microsoft, who brings with him more than 2 decades of experience in teaching and educational technology leadership. Michael Tedisco, owner of Apprenticeship Connections and Consulting Corp., where their mission is to promote apprenticeship programs and build awareness of the growing demand for a skilled workforce. Before we begin tonight, at the culmination of our live panel, I would like to invite everyone to join our panelists and representatives, including professors from Suffolk County Community College, Long Island University CW Post, St. Joseph's College, and Hunter Business School in Zoom rooms following a short 10-minute break. In the Zoom rooms, you will have an opportunity to ask your questions of each company and or school, or hear more about what each has to offer. Links to each Zoom room can be found either on your flyer or on the front page of the Connecticut Central School District website. We hope you enjoy the evening.
We'd like to thank everyone again for joining us. We're going to start with our first question here tonight. Can you educate our audience on the definition of computer science or information technology?
Yes,
Yeah, Christopher from TechWorks.
Yeah, so, I was a computer science major, going back when in Dowling College. And so computer science, I also studied the information side of the house too. So the computer science side of the house was definitely much more of the programming, and then also getting deep into the side that discusses how processors and chips and memory and all that stuff works, very deep inside the computers, and also on programming the languages of those computers. Whereas the information technology side usually has a lot more to do with how a business functions with technology. So a company like mine, I actually, even though I was a computer science major, I function more on the information technology side, which is how a business uses technology in the day-to-day and how they would go about saying this is a good technology to pick and how it's going to function and who's going to use it and how those computers are going to work. So it's a different side of the house. One's more of a business side and the other is more of definitely a science side.
Wonderful, thank you. Would anyone else like to add? Yeah, Christopher from Microsoft.
Just that was an excellent explanation. I hadn't really thought of it in that respect, but thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah, Doug from Cadoyo.
Thanks. I guess I just wanted to expand a little bit on the computer science side. So as many of you who are at Connecticut know, you've probably seen Cadoyo before. We teach computer science, but we like to be a little more expansive with that. And there's the computer science side of things where you are kind of going in deep into the technical side of programming, and you might be doing math to calculate how efficient things are. but you don't necessarily need to go down that track. The technology field is kind of broader now, and so you might be someone with like a creative artistic background and you go into web development. Maybe you're not doing what might be considered formally computer science, but programming and coding are still kind of a part of that realm, and there is especially nowadays, a much wider breadth of career paths and things you can do within that sector.
Yeah, I use Codoyo in school often. It's a wonderful platform. Thank you all for that. We're going to move on to Yaltic for the next question.
All right, thank you, Zach. So the next question is, what advice would you give to a student if they were considering a career in computer science or IT? All right, Michael from Apprenticeship Connections.
I think you said the right word there, career path. Make sure that the employer is going to put in some kind of training program in place, which is exactly what the apprenticeship program model is all about, is doing on-the-job training as well as classroom education. You want to understand that there's a career path, that you're going to start from the bottom and make sure that, 3, 4, 5 years from now, you're going to get some kind of training that brings you to the next level, whether it be have an employer provide you with more certifications, more licenses. You want to know that they're going to put a program in place for you to grow within that model.
All right, thank you. Would anybody else like to add to that? All right, thank you. Christopher from Microsoft.
When you're talking about fields such as CS and IT, they've expanded tremendously just over the last decade. So you're really focusing, folks who are going to be looking at CS and IT are going to be looking at artificial intelligence now, cloud-based technologies. And there are, even in the gaming space, there are tons of opportunities now that weren't available. Really, folks who are going to be entering in the CS and IT fields are going to be going into a field that hasn't yet been created because of these new technologies that are being developed now. So the advice would be build yourself with a really strong network of peers, folks who can speak to your talents. Get involved in as many communities as you can to expand your thinking and to expand the opportunities that are available to you. And just in general, have a learner's mindset as you're moving through, because you may start with one technology or programming language, and it will be something else by the time you move through your career path. So having patience, building your community, and keeping a learner's mindset are some effective strategies for success in CS and IT.
Thank you very much for the answer.
I apologize. Can I just add on that? Christopher, and Joe and myself could definitely tell you from experience, networking now at an early age is vital. Join organizations, join groups. If you just think you're going to apply through LinkedIn or Indeed, you need to do more. And if you can find that relationship, organization where you could interact yourselves with other business owners, it's really take you really far. And that was a great idea.
All right, thank you. Anyone want to add any more to the question?
Yeah, so besides the fact that he stole my answer, I did want to expand on that because that's exactly what I was going to say. And I run a couple groups, Technology for Business from the HIA, part of the Microsoft Certified Professional groups. Those groups want young talent in them, and they want, and the business owners are there. They want to educate that young talent. They're very excited to be able to do that. So don't think that you guys don't have a place inside all of these business groups. And really, it's not just computer science and IT. It's for any industry that's out there, construction or whatever. But all of these groups want you in there and want to educate you and want to help you. It's something we're almost all passionate about doing. So look for those groups, join those groups that are out there. There's tons of them on the island, and so I would recommend it. One of the first things you do is get a part of any of those business groups.
Yes, Joseph from
Hi.
Stetson?
Yeah, you can show me Joe. I just wanted to add on that because I know a lot of the people on this panel are more of the IT and computer science, and some people out there might be thinking computer science and IT, but they may not just want to go into that field alone. For a networking group, you could also look at something called ISACA. They're information systems auditors. They look at controls around these systems. They don't necessarily have to do the coding. They don't have to do the implementation of the systems, but they look at them from an outside and they provide their recommendations based on the best practices and regulations. So that might be something to look at too. And they always are promoting for young folks, young adults and young professionals. They're very big on pushing, to get them out there. Whether you're introverted, extroverted, they find things for you.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to now pass this next question off to Zach.
Thank you, Yoltik. It's really enlightening to hear those answers that you want young students involved. And that's what everyone's here for tonight. Next question: what could you share with an individual who thinks that computer science or information technology isn't for them? Yeah, Chris from Microsoft.
So I guess I'd be the poster child for that scenario. Growing up, I hated computers, absolutely, positively hated them. I avoided them at all costs. I wasn't in my garage tinkering or programming. And it wasn't until I started using more the graphic user interface where I really got that piece. I didn't like DOS, that's how old I am. I didn't like that process, and so I never really considered a field in computer science and IT. I went into teaching. I was a social studies teacher first, and then realized that I had a capacity to communicate the technical side along with the learning side. And then that became my career. I taught myself networking, Cisco, Microsoft, everything Apple. Then it made sense to me. So don't count yourself out at a young age thinking that maybe this isn't the field for you. Give yourself a chance to know and to grow. There are tons of opportunities out there for you. Know what you're good at, do it well, and the path will be let out for you, especially with computer science and IT.
Would you say that the field is a lot more broad and has a lot more sides to it than you expected, just from the name computer science?
Yeah, I mean, I was always scared of computer science because of the math. I didn't consider myself to be a math person. I was a history guy. But now I'm learning that that was more of a problem internally with me and how I processed math, and now I understand the logic behind it, and so I would just today, if I were in your shoes, I'd be looking at gaming in that piece, because there's an entire esports generation coming up. At one point or another, lacrosse wasn't really popular on Long Island, but now look how it is now. And esports is the baseball of this generation, baseball back in the 1890s. This is great. There are all sorts of wonderful opportunities there for programmers, but also for content creators. And so looking at esports as a career move is something that involves a lot of CS and IT, but it's also fun, and it's engaging to whole new communities.
Wonderful, thank you. Would anyone else like to add? Yeah, Chris from TechWorks.
So I think the answer to that really is that there's no business that isn't affected by computer science or IT now. Every business is a technology business. But even along those lines, if you're somebody who likes to, tinker with electronics or do other stuff, or even just build and do, so there's a whole side of IT that is construction, infrastructure, that kind of stuff that people wouldn't think is really IT. But those are the people that wire the buildings and the wireless and the lights and all that kind of stuff. All the way to the other side for the people who are programming gamers. So it's really such a broad technology. It's such a broad employment opportunity, and there's so much need for it out there that I don't know that anybody who has any type of passion couldn't find an area or a job that fit their liking. So it is really so broad that I don't really care what your preferences are as far as I like to do this. I mean, whether it's art or construction or programming or gaming, there's an area for you in information technology and computer science.
Yeah, Joseph.
Yes. So, growing up and going to high school when I was younger, they didn't have these career fairs. They didn't have these career days to ask these questions. It was just, okay, here's a college that has IT because you're interested in it. Here's the program that you get. And you may look at it and say, oh, I can't do that. And then you turn it off from the field. Everybody should use these type of days to ask those questions. This might spark an interest in someone saying, like I said, in my field in cybersecurity. Oh, you know what? I like IT, but I like looking at the controls. I like looking at things that I see in the news and protecting the schools. How do I get into that? Use these forums to ask those questions.
Wonderful. We're just going to move on for the sake of time. So I'm going to pass it over to Yoltik for the next question.
I want to ask this question.
Excuse me. Mrs. Berger with the next question.
I would like to ask this question. So, what opportunities exist for women in these fields? As we can see from the panel tonight, we have all males. So, Joe from Stetson.
There's all opportunities in these fields. Cybersecurity is not limited to men. It's not limited to any particular person, any particular age. It doesn't matter. If you have a passion for it, go for it. I've hired 2 young ladies on my staff, and they've excelled. They're wonderful in what they do, and I would just say, if you are a young woman and you think that you're going to be intimidated by all the men in the field, don't. You know as much, if not more, as most of them out there. So go for it.
Would anyone else like to add? Doug from Cadoyo.
So yeah, it is all guys on the panel right now. If our plans at Cadoyo weren't different, that might not be the case. But yeah, as he said, it's open to, like, anything's open, and I think fortunately what you see nowadays, companies are valuing that if you're going to make a product that serves a wide diversity of people, you need a wide diversity of people making that product. Like, I think Cadoyo, we're pretty close to 50-50, and we're all serving different purposes, and everyone has their own unique spin on it. So if you think, if you're thinking this might not be for you, companies may be actually looking for exactly the perspective you can provide. And I mean, it goes pretty broad for that, but yeah.
I just wanted to add, for those who are sticking around after this, the young lady from my team is going to be on the viewing afterwards. Ask her whatever questions you might have or want. She will answer and give you her perspective as well. It'd be wonderful.
So I could just add one thing that, I just came back from Orlando, where it's one of the largest IT conferences in the world. And I can tell you that besides the fact that 2 of the main keynote speakers there were women in the cybersecurity industry, women have a strategic advantage at right now in this industry. People want to hear from them. They want to hear their voice. It's actually a great time for women in this industry. It is a male-dominated industry, and they do stand out, and they are really looked up to. So I wouldn't step out of it. I mean, it's a great time to be a woman in this industry.
Thank you for all that input.
All right, I'll be moving on to the next question. So our next question is, can you describe the types of positions that exist in the IT field? All right, Joe?
I can start with the cybersecurity side. So there's different positions. So if you look at our company, we deal with a lot of different things. My team, we look at controls. We look at doing risk assessments. We look at and things like that. We also have people on the team who do incident response, penetration testing, vulnerability assessments. Anyone could do these things if they have a mind for it. So there's a lot of things in that respect. There are information security analysts that are out there. I mean, if you look on a lot of these cybersecurity websites for the type of jobs and positions, there's at least 20, 30, maybe more different type of positions that you can look into that might pique your interest.
Thank you very much. Anybody else want to add? All right, I'll go with Michael.
So take a step back here. Apprenticeship programs are, again, taking an individual who has no skill and teaching them a specific skill set with on-the-job training and classroom education. New York State Department of Labor currently has a long list of IT programs already in place. So these training programs are already established. Network administrator, network data analyst, network engineer, computer support technician, cloud engineer. These programs are there in place. So we have many different employers, small, big, large. They're hiring individuals to fill those roles. So this is just a list of some of the IT-related apprenticeship programs that are available today.
All right, and Christopher, you wanted to add
Sure. I could just give you active positions that are open in our company and what a lot of people are looking for. Certainly in the help desk area, which is people that just answer the regular phones from people day to day and want to support that stuff. Anybody who can do, who is interested in that infrastructure piece, which is setting up routers, switches, doing wiring, wireless, that kind of stuff. We have open in us right now. Also, project management. Those are people that understand technology enough, but can watch the process from beginning to end. So that's another thing that's a little bit different than just the regular technology, the project management piece. And then anybody who's doing kind of the back end web design programming. Those kind of fields are open for us right now. So, and the entire industry is looking for everybody or anybody.
All right, thank you. Nobody else want to add anything? All right, then I'll pass it back to Zach.
Thank you, Yotek. Moving on to the next question. What level of post-secondary education is required for a job in your field? And we have a very diverse panel. There's a lot of different positions here. So we'll go to Joe from Stetson Cyber Group first.
Okay, so let me say from my position, I was a business major. I have a 4-year degree in business. I transitioned into the cybersecurity field from there. I will say this, for those of you who are thinking about a career in cybersecurity, you don't necessarily have to have a college degree. There are plenty of certifications out there that you can go into. There are 2-year programs that you can just go into and then maybe go for a certification and go for positions, or you can look at the 4-year computer science, IT position fields and do it that way. So it really just depends. So there is an open, it really gives you an opening and to think about what direction you want to go to, because you don't have to be locked into a 4-year degree for this.
Great. Yeah, Doug from Cadoyo.
So what post-secondary education is needed for us? Arguably none. We care much more about the individual skills someone has. Granted, most of the people who are full-time at Cadoyo do have degrees in computer science, mine's in mechanical engineering. But when we go to job fairs, what we look for are individual skills. What other employers that I see at the job fairs looking for are specific skills for whatever languages are relevant to their field. And it's more about the projects that people can show off in the portfolio. And I'll even say, we actually have some mentors at Cadoyo who were Cadoyo students, and some are in high school and they're beyond college level computer science already. So in the CS field, I think a lot of it comes down to what skills you have and what projects you can show over necessarily a degree, not that it hurts.
Yeah, Chris.
So I'll add that if you're looking for a job in the big companies, the Googles, the Facebooks, the Microsofts, they generally appreciate those degrees. You really can't get into those kind of larger companies just on the portfolios alone, because they're so competitive that you have to have both of those things. When you're looking for the more local companies or smaller organizations, we generally look for those people that have certifications, have gone through the Microsoft certification trainings or CompTIA, A+, Net+, things like that. We're really looking for those people who are doing that stuff on their own or passionate about it. Other certifications in cyber, that's what we're looking for. And sometimes, because of the cost of those college degrees and the amount of time they spent in college, sometimes it's actually a negative, because we find those people that have been doing it for 2 or 3 years, the people who come out of college are actually a little bit behind. It's just the case. But if you're looking for, and if you have the the grades and the wherewithal and the education to go to college, and your path is to get into one of those big Apples or something like that, certainly you need a college degree.
Great. And Christopher from Microsoft, can you attest to some of the things he said?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when the air gets thinner and the farther up the ladder you go, there's more of a comparison to degree background, like computer science from Michigan versus computer science from Westchester Community College. That is, it's the modern day equivalent of where your shoes shined. And not to say that there's any real differential between the two of those. But the reality is that as you get up into the corporate types of jobs, they are looking for degrees. However, in traditional computer science, in cybersecurity, in development, it's more about what you're able to produce. And I've heard portfolio mentioned a number of times, what community you're a part of. My job didn't exist 20 years ago. And I took a more traditional route. I'm an integration specialist, so I go and I work with schools and help them learn how to integrate the security package and modern device management and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff I picked up along the way because I was a liberal arts major, and that liberal arts major taught you how to learn, and that was the biggest skill that I came out with. But as far as is a computer science degree valuable? I think that you have to know exactly where you want to go and apply that degree to make sure that there's value there.
Great. Yeah, Joe.
So I just want to add one more thing that those are valid on the larger companies, but they will also a lot of times pay for your education along the way if they really. Well, great minds think alike. So not to get scared off, they'll take you with your certifications, they'll take you with your experience if you have like an internship or a mentorship program. And then if they really like you, they will offer education assistance to get the degrees if they really require it.
Great. And then just channeling into the next question, they're sort of similar. I know Chris from TechWorks sort of touched on it. What requirements are necessary for an entry-level position, such as a certification or a degree?
I can talk a little bit more about that. So once again, we as a company, the first thing we look for actually is more about whether or not you're a cultural fit and you have a passion for technology, especially when we're doing interns in lower positions. We want people that when they come to us have said, oh, I have a server running at my house, or I'm playing with Linux, or I'm doing that kind of stuff. We're looking for that type of person who's passionate about technology and learning and can teach us some stuff in new fields. That's when we're looking at entry-level positions, that's who we're hiring. Especially, we do a lot of internships, and in fact, a lot of the interns that were in my organization actually have our full-time positions now, or in management in some cases. And all of them had the similar things. They went home, they played with technology after they worked for the day, and that's what they like to do. And they brought that back to the company, and we used that stuff. So for us, it's the requirements at entry level are usually pretty low. Sure, if you went out and you got an A+, great. If you got a Net+, great. But if you're playing with Linux and you know more about it than any of the guys in my office, I'm going to hire you. And there's a lot of kids that go out there and do that stuff, and we know that.
Great. I'm going to pass it to Joe now.
Sorry. So I want to support what you're saying there. It's true. I've worked for large companies and small companies throughout my career. The larger companies, yes, they want you to come have that degree first and foremost most of the time. But I look for those who do have the passion in what they want to do. You may just have a certification, maybe you're working towards a degree, but I'd much rather know that you have an understanding and you want to do it. Not just going through the motions and like, oh, I'm getting a job and I'm going to something else. That's what we look for in the smaller to mid-sized companies than the larger companies.
Wonderful. I'm going to pass it to Yotik for the next question.
Thank you, Zach. All right. So, how did you decide on pursuing a career in computer science or IT? All right, Chris.
I'll answer it because I didn't really decide to have a degree. I was an engineering major. And I was actually a civil engineering major in Northeastern University and was doing co-op work. And every time I went and did co-op work, I wound up working on those companies' computers. Somebody said to me one time, you should probably just go back and be an IT major. So it kind of just fell into my lap because I had that passion. For some reason, I was much more passionate about taking care of the company's computers than going out and working on, some of the other stuff that they were doing. And I guess that showed, and somebody pointed me in the right direction. So, I took a winding path into that. But then once I found it, I kind of knew that's where I was. So it's not always straightforward for everybody, and it's not always easy. But I think if you keep looking out there and listen to what's going on and what you kind of continue to lean towards, you'll kind of see what your passion is. And that's kind of what happened to me. So I did not pick computer science or IT. I think it picked me.
Thank you. I believe that's a very nice answer. All right, Christopher from Microsoft.
So as I'd said before, I hated computers growing up. I really didn't understand them. It was actually a math class that I had where we did the logic, if this, then that, and I nailed it. I got like a 90 on the Regents, and I was really excited, and I was like, maybe there's something to this. It wasn't until I started identifying how technology can be used to help students learn that it really made sense to me, and I put in the work that was necessary to pursue a career in CS and IT. I knew that I could apply it to something that I cared about deeply, and that's the learning potential and possibilities of students. So I was a late bloomer, as it were, but it was a great opportunity to connect those worlds in a way that influenced a lot of people positively.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right, Doug, thank you.
So I had a fairly similar trajectory as Chris. I started out doing mechanical engineering. My first job out of college was actually project management, also construction. I did not like it, but around the same time, I caught word of what Kidoyo was doing. A friend had been working there, and I went down and we started creating lessons, and I really wanted to bring what I didn't exactly have the opportunity to do, which was more robotics programming, blending the computer science and mechanical together. So in a similar way, I didn't really choose computer science. It was kind of something I got pulled into and enjoyed being in that field over, I guess, more of a traditional engineering field.
All right, Michael, want to add something?
Yeah, just real quick. I think the five of us are perfect examples where all five of us started off in a different industry or career path. And again, I think this is a message to the students. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to fail, but first try. Pursue a career that you're passionate about. You're young. You're in your 20s. It's okay. All of us found our passion later on in life, and you will too. Just make sure when you're going through the process, the certifications, the licenses, the career path that you're on is going to be always going to be with you. So you can always come back and change your mind later on. But again, follow your passion. And I think that's the most important.
Yeah, if I could just add, I mean, for me, it was, like I realized that it was finding what I didn't want to do, right? I found these things I didn't want to do. Like he said, you just didn't want to do those things, but something else just kept bubbling up to the top and you just all of a sudden, so it's okay. I've had lots and lots of jobs that I just didn't, and so those things bubbled up. And I think that's, you start to listen to that and you start to try to think about it, why do I keep going in that direction?
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else want to add? All right, I guess I'm going to pass it back to Zach.
Thank you, Yotek. Our next question, I'm going to go to each of you once. You can tell me the biggest thing, how has the industry changed in the last 2 years due to the pandemic within your workplace and within the industry as a whole? I'm going to start with you, Doug.
Yeah, so before I came here, I was working. I was wearing slippers and sweatpants. COVID changed a lot of things. I've been working from home the whole time. We were actually in the middle of a school semester, just like you guys. We had to transition. Part of it was just helping everyone out. Things were definitely rocky to start out, as I'm sure you guys experienced as well. But at least us for now, I'm still working remotely. I'm going into schools a little bit more often now, but everything's through Zoom. A lot of things are remote. There's good and bad to it, but everything can be more flexible. You don't get some of that interpersonal time with your coworkers where it's just the water cooler talk. Wasn't typically around a water cooler, but those kind of things have changed.
Great. Next to you, Joe.
Yeah, so when the pandemic started, I was working for a government agency prior to getting to the cybersecurity firm. They had to go out immediately in March, as most places did, and they were very ill prepared. It was very sad to really watch how they didn't have computer systems, they didn't have laptops, they didn't have IT support. So it was a very daunting task to get even my team up and running. I had spent many days being IT support for them. Over the last year since I've been at the cybersecurity firm, I've got to say that we see a spike in a lot of phishing that goes on because of the pandemic, where people have the fears and these emails come through and you want to click on the link because you think you're doing something nice and donating, and then next thing you know, all your information's gone. So the bad actors are out there taking advantage. We have been really hybrid at the beginning, not working from home full time, and now we're back in the office probably 4 or 5 days a week, which is, we have a smaller office, but at least we have some spacing, so it's not so bad. But cybersecurity is not one thing that ever rests. So, being from home and being in the team environment makes it much more productive to get to really help our clients.
Michael from Apprenticeship Challenge Connections.
So pre-COVID, obviously, the training was done in person, much obviously more focused and obviously more productive when you're next to the individual. But you have to learn to adapt. So yes, being in this industry, being able to do remote, still have a mentor looking over the work that you're doing, it can be done. And again, with the resources, the related instruction being done online, it's learning to adapt because you still need to hire individuals and you still need to train them. Just need to find ways to get it done the most effective. So as of right now, it's just still being done, just more remote than anything else. Hopefully over time it will go back.
Great. And Christopher from Microsoft.
So this is actually the first trip I've made to a school since the beginning of COVID. So before that, I was traveling probably 75, 80% of the time. I'm a field resource. I don't go to an office. I work out of my home, but I would be on the road. So it was very, very different. Even though I wasn't in that office environment, there are obviously some limitations. I actually had the fortunate opportunity of working with the largest school district in the nation. You can figure out which one. Go through their COVID pains and talking about all of the things that they had to do, the 350,000 devices that now they had to manage, and all that kind of stuff. So that was it was an eye-opening situation, and I helped schools throughout New York State with those types of scenarios. We had already been using Teams extensively. That's our version of Zoom. And so just watching that grow and develop as well. I had wondered at one point what it would be like if parents have to go to work. This was before COVID. What would that happen? Would we go back to the days of the farm where the family unit was together and everybody prospered in their particular home? And I think we found out what that's like and don't necessarily want to be there yet. But yeah, I think that the key word here is flexibility. I think that will always be with us, to have that flexibility, and it will allow, from Microsoft's side, the big change is they became more human as an organization. They understood that you might need some time to just decompress. You can't be on calls all the time. You can't do that. Leadership all the way up to the CEO were encouraging people to take hobbies. They actually gave us more money to go and learn guitar or something like that. So a lot of good, a lot of struggles. I'm glad we're getting back to a normal, but I don't think that we'll ever get back to that old normal.
Well, we're glad you can be here with us tonight. Welcome back. And lastly, Christopher from TechWorks.
All right. Sorry, for us, being the type of company that we are, we still had to do a lot of hands-on work. So we were still, we had 350 Chromebooks come into our office the first day that we were locked down to get out to one of our clients. And through the pandemic, we had to do a lot of that work. We were considered emergency services. So our company itself hadn't changed that much, but the industry certainly did, and the type of services that we provided did, and what the companies were asking of us did to migrate them over to these new technologies, to get them trained on those new technologies, and to understand how those new technologies affect their business from a security standpoint and from a daily activity standpoint. But from the employer side, it actually makes it much more difficult on us now, because people can go and take jobs in their pajamas and go work for a company in North Carolina, or go work for a company, or vice versa. Somebody from North Carolina can come up here and get a job and make the same amount of money and do that kind of work. So the industry has definitely changed. The opportunities for those people who want to stay home and work and might not want to be, I don't particularly care for that model, but that's what it is, because there's downsides and there's at some point a loss of productivity. But you have the opportunity now to go work for a great company that's in Wisconsin or California or somewhere like that. So it allows you to broaden your search a little bit as you're starting to look for who to intern for or who to go work for. If you really like that environment of being with the people in the company and really learning that way, it's, there's still some of that available too.
Great. That's all the time that we have for the panel question section today. Yoltik and I both thank you for asking your questions and being here tonight. I'm now going to pass it over to Mrs. Berger to close us out.
Thank you. So a big thank you goes out to this panel, because this was more than I expected it to be. Just the information that you have provided for our community and for our students. The one thing I just kept hearing time after time was portfolio experiences, what you're coming to the table with, whether it be college or career or business school, whatever it may be, is to follow your passion. So, I hope the students out there listening are at least hearing that and knowing what opportunities exist within Connecticut for them at the high school level, especially because that's when you get to choose your path. So I do want to thank all of you for being here tonight. I would be remiss if I did not thank the people that made this happen for you tonight, and they are behind the camera. So I want to thank Connectquot's own IT department, especially Victor Zambrana, Santo Moscova, hopefully he's there, and of course our director, Elise Pulliam. Thank you all with so much pleasure. I would not have been able to do any of this without you guys and your knowledge. I've learned so much during all of this. So thank you. It's also not without the support of the superintendent, Dr. Adams. Mr. Middleman is our assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, and the Board of Education here at Connectquot. That they enable us to bring programs for students just like these two to my left. Our program, our computer science program spans from kindergarten all the way up through 12th grade. In the elementary school, we have computer science and engineering specialists that cycle through our 7 elementary schools, teaching kids the fundamentals of principles of engineering, as well as we start on the Codoyo platform getting them coding very young. In the middle school, we have a push-in program, again, using the Codoyo platform. And here at the high school, where students actually get to choose what they want, we have courses ranging from advanced placement, cybersecurity, and this year we incorporated a CompTIA certification for networking as they move through high school to find where they're going to wind up after high school. These experiences exist for students. The portfolio building starts here, and that's something that you all impressed upon, and I hope the kids at home are listening to this. We are going to take a short break. We will resume the Zoom rooms at 7:25. The links for each room to speak to these gentlemen, as well as their group that they brought with them, and the colleges will be available on our district webpage. Thank you. Okay, welcome back and thank you for attending our very first Computer Science and Information Technology College and Career Exploration Night. I hope that you enjoyed the valuable information that our panelists shared with you, and I hope you had the opportunity to jump in and out of our Zoom rooms tonight. I want to thank you for all attending, and I appreciate all the support given via the district, our IT team, and all of our panelists and schools that came to this event this evening.
Thank you for helping us put this together.
Have a great night.
Good night.